the Gambia, or Gambians, on December 4th, will go to polls to elect the president who will steer their affairs. According to the Independent Electoral Commission, the total number of registered voters, or the total number of people that showed up in the 2016 presidential election, according to statistics, is not something worth writing home about. 59% of the total number of registered voters turned out to cast their vote, which, by all indication, is voter apathy. Why are Gambians not participating fully in election and election-related activities? I have with me gentlemen and two ladies in the studio to help us understand the reason that is stopping Gambians from participating in election and election-related activities. I am Boubacar Traoré, your host for today's show. Thank you for joining us once again. Welcome to the show, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.
Jason Sanyang from the from National Council for Civic Education, and I have with me Mariama Danso, who's also the Vice President of the University of the Gambia Students Union, and Honorable Degen Job, who is the Deputy Speaker of the National Youth Parliament. Honorable Jason, there are different or several stumbling blocks which are serving as barriers to women and youth participation in politics. If you may, very briefly, tell us these barriers so that we can kickstart the discussion.
All right, thank you very much, Abubakar. Thank you very much, the two ladies. These are very important questions. The topic is also as well very important as we are heading towards the 2021 presidential. So women and youth, because they form a great part of the population, it's very important that when we are discussing, they come to the forefront. Not because they are better than the rest of the population, but because of the number. And when we say democracy, we mean number. Women form about 52.8% of the population, according to statistics, and youth are over 60% of the population. So if there is voter apathy to the extent that you mentioned, that indicates that you have low voter turnout from among these very two important sectors of the population. The causes of that, there are several causes, several factors causing women and youth under participation in this very important democratic activity, which is the election. First is the economic, because you have structural, economic, and social barriers. So economic barriers, poverty, for example, is very prevalent among the ladies, among the women and the youth population. Usually, it's the above youth age male population that have the financial resources to invest in politics and elections. It's expensive to run a party. The campaign, preparations, logistics, registering, nomination, and even having to survive the tides that come with it. Elections and electioneering campaign. These are not easy things. They require a lot of funds to invest in that. So because of financial issues, one, you have illiteracy is also very high among the youth population and the women. So that is also there. But something which we should also feature in these discussions is the lack of confidence that they have, because campaign, elections, these things come with a lot of promises to the public. So sometimes you see politicians coming, giving promises. So if they don't live up to those promises, usually you see youth saying, okay, I'm not into this, because we have been promised for far too long and things are not forthcoming. Those kind of things, and ladies too. So the moment their representation is kind of loud in that aspect, we also should look into those things and know that these are realities. They are there. Also, we have some skepticisms and cynicism towards women and the youth participation in politics, which we should always look at that. If, for example, their participation in leadership and decision making, you have a woman to be a head of a political party, for example, the society is such that patriarchy has taken over. They will say, "Ki jigen la, it's a lady. The lady cannot take us to the promised land." Or a youthful person is so exuberant. They have youthful exuberance, and when we give them leadership, they might lead us the wrong way. So until we try to change those social structures, have positive thinkings towards women and youth, and get them involved in participation, then that's the way we are going to go forward, and then this voter apathy is also going to be curtailed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jason, for giving us some of these barriers that are affecting the participation of young people and women in politics. Later on, we'll come to the Mandinka language so that for the benefit of the Mandinka viewers. To Honorable Degen Job, Jason has highlighted some of the barriers which are affecting or serving as stumbling block to women and youth participating in election and also in politics. How do we enhance and also how do we enhance youth and women participation in these activities?
Thank you very much, Abubakar. I will just speak from where Jason stops. That is, when it comes to women and youth participation and the challenges he highlighted, I think one of the solutions could be when we assign youth quotas, when we assign quotas to political parties as to the number of their representatives that should be women and the number of their representatives that should be youth. I think this will commit them to an extent to make sure these two groups of the population are fairly represented in political parties, but they are also fairly represented when it comes to election and electoral procedures. The second thing is when you want to engage people, you find them where they are. The question is, in the Gambia, where can you find young people? Where can you find women? And that's where you go to get their attention. And on average, in the Gambia, you can find the youthful population on the internet. You can find them in musical concerts, in ghettos and in schools. Get to them. Give them the information in musical forms. Engage the musicians. Let them sensitize them that way. Find them in the ghettos, talk to them. Go to the schools and universities and talk to them. Most of the time, the youths in the senior schools, most of the time don't reach the age of 18. But they are very important section of the youthful population. Because most of the time, the next election that comes, that's when they mature, when they reach the age to vote. And most of the time they don't have the information required to help them to go through this electoral processes. And it becomes very important. Another thing that Jason highlights that I will pick from is the participation of women in politics. Our political environment is not very friendly for women, most especially young women. We can see the young women that involve themselves in politics in our country. Most of the time they are victimized, most of the time they are insulted, most of the time they are discriminated. And that makes a lot of young women just stay in the background. And they will be the cooks, they will be the ones that clap when it comes to political rallies, and they will be the one to mobilize at the background. So these are all obstacles that is stopping them from coming to the national scene to show that they also can. And I think these are all barriers we need to move out to make sure women and youth are in the forefront of the political processes in our country.
Thank you so much, Honorable Degenjo, for highlighting some of the ways that we can use to enhance youth and women participation in election. Like I said, viewers, in the beginning, this is the Civic Bantaba, so brought to you by CEPRAS. Basically, it is here to create civic awareness. Mariama, to another important point, both Jason and Degen have highlighted, Jason has highlighted the barriers, and Degen has given some of the ways that we can use to enhance youth and women participation in election. Now, beyond that, let's come to voter registration, because we know before you participate in an election, you must be registered first, because if you're not registered and you do not have a voter's card, there is no way that you can participate in the election. So how do you register? And what are the documents that one should have in order to be able to register to participate in election?
Thank you very much, Abubakar, for asking that question, and a wonderful good evening to all the people that are watching us. Civic engagement is very much important, and then also we always say we have the right to be given certain privileges or certain demands that we demand from the government of the country. But as it always says, every right goes with responsibilities. And one way in which citizens of a country can be able to claim for their rights is through the ballot box, because it is one way that they show that power really belongs to the people. And when you talk about democracy, one of the core principles of democracy is to enhance political participation. And that cannot be in the absence of elections. If you look at it in those days when our elders want to decide on something, they just gather at a place, at a Bantaba or so, and then people will say yes or no to certain things, and then they go about their business. But the globe has changed, and then when the world is changing, you reform and go with that system. We realize that now when we talk about the issue of elections, we talk about registration to get a voter's card. Now, there are documents that a person needs to be able to get yourself a document or a voter's card, one of which is the national ID, birth certificate. So birth certificate is one thing that can guarantee somebody to get access to a registered and a valid voter's card. Also, the national ID card of a person, that is identification card, can also guarantee somebody a voter's card. A Gambian passport, a valid Gambian passport can also guarantee somebody to get access to a voter's card. Another thing that is very much important is, in the absence of these three major documents, we also have what we call attestation or affidavit that is granted by alcalos or heads of villages in the various communities. Now, it is important that we're able to understand how these things are issued. When you cannot provide all these three major documents, you should be able to provide an affidavit from the alcalo. We also realize that every document that is presented in any country has a valid time and also has a lifespan. So just the same way ID cards expire, that's the same way voters card also should be renewed. And then as we speak right now, IEC has plans to go on a massive voter registration. So those that would be sitting at home to say, man, I'm not voters card, no voters card totally. We are telling you that there is going to be a general voter registration. That is for us to understand that from 2016 to date, a lot of things have happened. Others have died, others have left this country, and then the number, just the same way there is a decrease in the number, there is also an increase in the number, because all those that were 17, 16, towards that end also must have added to the number that we are currently having. So which means there is a decrease at some point, but there is also an increase in a certain level. So it is important that we're able to take those documents to make sure we are also registered. Come on the 4th of December, we march to our constituencies and vote to the person we feel is necessary or deem it ready to champion the cause of this country.
Thank you so much, Mariama, for that very important piece of information. I think it is very clear now. If you want to register to vote in the 2021 presidential election and the elections that will follow, it is very important you have these documents in order to participate in the election. Jason, mamendiamu kambandika count angale counto bi wala ko 2021 presidential election bi alano ko December karotil nani wala on December 4th 2021 gamenol bitale kamaso ka president tombo nga ko start men wala ko barial bije cool mi alon ko balance wala ka problème moti bake pour funding kewol ni musole da bula election maybe 1 or 2 minutes long from Monday ka la moy la le men be ngibe kan sa pour fane understand ka mona fodem bi
Abubakar funding kel ni musolu ila dabulo carte fayota nim politiko kunya kukuma balo nin ko demokrasi jama yalo nin ka funding kel ke bon ke la ko kacha bak abe kuma yalla men bawo to len jamaati funding kel ni banko be hay manin kemolam taworo ani mi ya kodi wala be funding kel yo musukunda to ninke kunda to ninga tare yake kemoti min siata tallul nim fulani min lato kam o be mo musukunda so ibajala andu ila dabulo politiko kono anin nyaton kaya ni electional be wala kono iba adoyata bakele comme nga abe kafu kan bari abinani abe kafu kan ning sembo min obe doyarim fana bakele comme the progress is slow bari ngam fo wala ko ya kola ya ko le soto wala ya tinna fanan ila dabulo politiko to carte fewol ni ko ta kola ya ring abe o kono soto ni soto jibe bake soto do ya ta bake musu ko ndani funding ki kundato jama na fulolo anin ko bawo politiko ni election of tamando dépense lem ikaja dépense ñin so sonia ta mir bulu wala jama ke kon dan ko amir yalon ko tambita funding kewol soto katara wala bulu pour ka ko dépense politico campagne mu dépense lati nomination mu dépense lati patio balindo dépense wala katara je so ikaja le ni woti je dron haninga hamobe muso dola pour ka dun ko ni ko naka kolea yo karambal ya fana o fana sen ko ma baake o ma fa wala baake because ikaja le ko karambal ya siata funding ke kundato o be ko lo falin kambar karambal ya siata funding ke kundar asiata musukunda fana musukunda ta asiata to baake fa so ikaje ko ni o be keren dron wol be ka ke balance apolet mi alon itolning ke dabula carte fayo kunya kon yo abe o fana to fana ni ina te jibe fana sobol mol kamilu soto mi alon ko ke kunda kala ko kumma yande ka tambi musukundati o fana be banko kan ika fo patriarchy ika to babol ka ko mandi wal yo wo fana bije o yaati na fam laban ka sobi musukundan ko la ko ni ko ka muso nyaton muso se ka nyaton ko ay ka ko ka muso te keno la nyaton ko ni muso ka be banko nyaton ka la mbita mun to bari muso ntala ni na tari ko jibe muso kera na vice president de ngambra science nya saba andun ngo jere o nyaton ka ya place le so hani sain muso se place o place maranole fomol so miro fanana tino kadi ko musol se place maranole anen ke sembentu yandi be fotono law dal to nyame bari na tara nyaalu an fana o fana funding ke fana wato le se mol moy ni mo funding ke asiro ika ko man diga funding ke asiro ko funding ke asiro na bala ne nyaato ngaya la sikeno ay tambulo ko no ma sen fo wolle be falina na miracle to bankol comme bi nka mol ka Rwanda ta exemple le Abubakar Rwanda birim pol Kagame minaka sije wato minna funding kela sitaje bari bi fo dunya be kata ka ke sampuloti ko banko ke sampuloti so funding kel se banko sambanole bawo ka creative le comme la miro nyin kukutol mi keje isinano jamano ina tembetale isa ku jamale natino so fo society finance oje pour ka je ko nga funding kel dabulandi je mi sembentu ya beri nafulo la karola mi sembentu ya beri structure la karola anin ku katamol ke dabulandi election nyin kono ka je ko fana itar je nyame
aw kumara baake jason ngalo ko funding kol ni musol dabulo election o da kumara baake le baraka baake jason sanjon korimba saintina honorable again job kan honorable noram wasi kalama english moy jason lungo fi legui moy mi fi barriers yi xamne tay di stop jigeni ak ndaw yi pour gay bu no dugal sen bo wasi election so naka la ñoo def ñun nguur gi ak even the civic space bi civil society organization lu gay wara def pour ndaw yi ak jigeni mëna bokk ci election ak politics
jërëjëf Aboubacar loolu dinaa si sawar pour wax tarap pexe yi ñu mën a def pour make sure jigéen ñi ak ndaw yi seen taxawaay si mbiri electoral process mu yokku benn si ñoom nee na la moo nekk ñu jox political party si quotas suñu waxee quotas mooy comme ñu ne téeméeri representatives yoo leen isi at least ñeent fukk yi na nekk ndaw wala ñeent fukk yi na nekk jigéen fanaa ne loolu suñ ko defee mu am si political party si mu am time election su jotee gars yi ñu ñooy isi seen candidate si ñooy isi ñu taxawalee ko noonu tamit fanaa ne léegi tey xeex bu ñooy xeex si affaire yi ndaw yi ak jigéen ñi pour seen taxawaay si wàllu election mu gën a yemba daal fanaa ne xeex boobu noonu léegi tey ñu génn si continuer si leneen leneen li mooy soo bëggee boole nit si dara danga koy fekk fu mu nekk te tey soo la tey suñ dëkk bi comme fooy fekka ndaw yi ak jigéen yi ndaw yi di nga leen fekka si internet bi di nga leen fekka si musical concert si moo nekk si xew-xew yi di nga leen fekka si seen garam place yi di nga leen fekka si school si ak si universities foofu ngay dem nga defaa ñoom nuñ fa dee defee for example musician yi suñ amee information about elections ak di pour ñaax ndaw yi te ndaw yi di dem musical concerts suñ fa demee dinañ ko déglu soo leen fekkee si seen ghetto yi nga waxtaanaa ñoom dinañ la déglu soo leen fekkee seen school si ak university si nga waxaa ñoom dinañ la déglu te dama taxaw si mbiri school si because most of the time ndaw yoo dee fekka si school si daf dee fekka ne most of the time elections yu ñu dee tombé daf dee fekka motanguñ pour vote si elections yooyu noonu waaye daf dee fekka ne balaa beneen election di ñëw dinañ mot so si diggante boobu noonu da nga dee gis ne comme jàngati wàllum élection duy bëri so dañ leen dee let hanging for those years and election si ñëwee within 1 year rek ñu bëgg naa push information si yooyu noonu yëpp most of the time daf dee difficult si ñoom pour ñu process leneen lu ma wax si wàllu jigéen yi mooy jigéen yi fanaa dañ leen war a utal seen specific programme ak mentoring especially jigéen yi ndaw yi si politics because soo xoolee Gambia political environment bi nekkut lu yomba torop si jigéen yi soo fa nekkee dinañ la xas dinañ la saaga dinañ la tuumal dinañ la sosal ba pare lu nekk si góor nekku si jigéen dafa am yooy xalaat dafa am yooy sóoraale soo mujjee bi dangaa ne di jaru ko xaaral ba xaddi rek ma dem wala xaaral ma nekk si gannaaw ma nekk tàccukat bi ma nekk toogakat bi ma nekk yëglekat bi jigéen ñi foofu lañ dee mujjee te loolu di jëmal réew kanam suñ xoolee si àdduna bi bokk na si réew yu gën a jëm kanam si réew yu gën a taxaw si réew yu gën a stable réew yu jigéen ñi jiite waaye fii moom waxuma la political party rek waxuma la dëkka rek waaye soo amee mbootaay bu ndaw rek bu jigéen jiitu rek da nga dee gis naka lañ leen dee sosale naka lañ leen dee discourager naka luñ dee def lu nekk rek pour meeg soo jigéen ñi dellu gannaaw fa naa ne loolu si luñ war a taxaw la
jërëjëf honorable Ndegem Jobe kaddu bi rafet na te set na Mariama say nga jaso moyle aning honorable Ndegem Jobe ye kuma kawon fa kuma kawon melan ka senata bake say minute fananga because angale kamo ya fo nje ko process on yama voter registration angale ka wala process di ko harma dum jandi wala gamme non dal ni militar fe tani so sodo jandi be dablo la carte fa ko fe to sefe sa o to safo dum kayti lebije wala sarto lebije ñu ko men timandi pour ye dablo kono sa o sarto ni so fu mo le dum din ro kadabake ka do ngana tamo man so bake en sira ku dol kono
abaraka bake am wata kacha nyata ka sutiyandi ka kumo sutiyandi kaytol le bije milliardon ko mo sulata wala nanyanta to safela pour asi carte ko so soto no nyimbanko kono kilim bije ka fo mi bar certificate mi wulu kaytoti lafta saniyandi lako wulu kayto ni no kayto fatatale imanke kilingoti wulu kayto wala kayto min kaytandi ko ite wulu ta janne bari mu gambia dingol fananti wala bar certificate no bata je fanan e ka fo mi national id card wa fanan mu kayto le timi ko ni afutandi safer lalla ise to safe nole ye id card ye voters card soto gambian passport o fana mu kaytele de mi anon ka se ay bluwa yo ba sembo digale pour ye voters card soto beto nyin voters card koto fana isi wo fana use nole pour ye voters card koto nyin soto e ka fo min fane ko alkal kayto ni ajibe jama bije nyin tumando to lanjuro se muta wala kube koto laykan ita nyin kaytol be soto la bari ning alkal kayto be bulu wala alkalo balla glato isi fintuno kande yela ko kis ya jibo ko tamu je dingolati ye kayto dila isi wo kayto tanale ta ye voters card nyini jamal fanan bije nga moy ko alkalol fanan kayto ci kale e ka di mon la min lan ko manke banku dingoti nyam mukulati mi yalan ko nyantelen ka jibe ku baake katon ni ye kayto ci ka yadi mon la mi yalan ka manka tete salon ko yela foro yala tinya yela banku di yala tinya e ka dol fanan je politiko la ko kan wala yaje ko ina mari la mon man diya bake wala kudo kuto bal tema amari fintine kan kala fta kayto la pour kala banku di ya tamandi yewo kuriya la ka yesembo la kan ya mari bali kayto la nyim fana mu kulati mi yalan ko be alkalol dani la pour se hakilo to wato bake kata kuma yata bakel nyin len kaytol ti mo kamin soto pour ise voters card soto no tumando ba dol fana sa fuko ndidan to savel card na voters card be mbulle id card ka expire nyami voters card fana ka expire wala nyama wato le bala no wato banda foita yakuta yande aduniya jibe last registration in sign tema ubina sanju lulo sila adu wasanju lulo kono ku jama kunta jel dol tamatale dol banda dol la fata nan kanko ten comme min yalon ko siemang asanju tanin seyo soto no sanju lulu komando sa wol be la fata jel adu wol be nyantale pour idaye bula safero kono wala nambe alfal danela ani momo yalon ko janding 4 December isio ba asilale ning safer to safer wato sita nze fentina ngan tol safer fon ci carte keso soto na nyam
baraka bake time moment today yes once almost we have only 4 minutes to wrap up the show just on then I'll come to you and I want you to do this thing very fast summarize as much as you can we know there are several issues that undermine election and one of those things you can say it's vote buying and we've received reports of several alleged reports, I should say, of people involved in vote buying. And how do we make sure, as electorates who would participate in election and any other person, to make sure that we frown upon vote buying and its dubious activities?
Vote buying, Buba, is illegal. You know, there is a subsidiary legislation to the Elections Act, which is the Campaign Ethics Order, saying that this practice is not legal, is just not good. But I give you money, you vote for me, but sometimes it can be I give you money and you vote against someone, or you vote for someone, or you refrain from voting for someone. So all these things are, and it's just not always money, but sometimes it's either other forms of things that they can give you to lure you, to influence someone, or to induce the person to get into this act of vote buying. It's illegal, and that order, that campaign ethics order, the violation of that order, according to law, is something that can even result to, if you are found guilty, it can result to the party being deregistered, or if it is an independent candidate, the nomination of that candidate can be removed.
It is illegal. We have only 2 minutes. And one of the things that is very important, I think we have to discuss before we wrap up the show, is how do we ensure that we have a peaceful electoral campaign and also an electoral process per se. What would be your message to Gambians?
Just one thing is called tolerance. In political participation, if there is tolerance, you know that your thinking, your persuasions, your choice for leadership is different from the other one, and let everyone be each other to exercise their rights freely and choose their representatives. If there is tolerance, then there's going to be peace. It's a critical pillar for peace building in politics.
Thank you, Jason. Honorable, we are in an election year. You see, election year, sometimes tensions have been joke they mën a andi problème yi naka la ñoo fexee ni campagne su jotee ak élection su jotee ñu def ko si jaam ak feega duñ xuloo duñ saagante.
Aboubacar jërëjëf loolu su ma la si tontu dama laa wax ne individual responsibility pour ku nekk citizen bu nekk nga make sure ne yow looy def si election bi from beginning pre post and during yëpp mu nekk si jaam yow soo defee sa bos keneen mu fulfill bosam at the end of the day duñ am problem when it comes to elections.
Jërëjëf honorable Degen Job madama nga ne defanan kam ba kilo no nyaade pour campagne ni election wala carte fo nga kayro kono satara monson kam man kele
abaraka bake comme nga fa nyamin dama ko kilinem me sonna nyole ni te ko afinte te la fima muta nenta ka ko ita nganta muta ngasi kayro kono fon sign election ko kayro kono ay ban kayro.
Thank you so much viewers. Like I said in the beginning, this is the Civic Bantaba show brought to you by Cyprus. The program is in civic awareness, enhancing the participation of young people and women in politics, as well as promoting tolerance, good governance and rule of law. That's it for today. Until we come your way next time, thank you for joining us.